All right, well, we're ready.
Okay, then let's jump right in. Hey guys.
Hey.
I guess the thing that we should start with is who the heck are you, and how the heck do we know each other? Do you want to start? Who are you?
I'll start. Okay, so my name is Madison. Maddie, call me either one. I don't care. I'm Becca's cousin. That's pretty much like. I mean, you want me to tell everything, like all the questions, or just introduce mine? Just introduce myself.
Well, how we've known each other ever since we were all born.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So cousin on my mom's side, cousin on my dad's side. So cousin by proxy.
Right.
But I guess what's more important is that we've kind of been walking together with the Lord for 3 years now, probably together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where this has come from. But why don't you tell who you are?
Well, like she said, both of their cousins basically. Um, I've lived on the same farm as Becca for my entire life, and so we kind of grew up together. She's like my sister, and of course Maddie lives right down the road from us, so she's like another sister, and we've been walking together in Christ for the past few years. We've been doing small groups, and ever since then we've kind of been raised up together in the Lord, along with a ton of other people. And God put it on Becca and Maddie's heart, and it's also been on mine to start a podcast. So that's kind of what we're doing here today. We just want to spread the love of God and get more people to know. And the reason why it's called Unfiltered Faith is because we just want to be real. We don't want to say what's on our hearts. We want to say what Jesus says. We're just mailmen, mail women delivering Jesus mail.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think that there's something that our generation is hungry for is truth. And for some reason, a lot of people are afraid to give that truth and timid when it comes to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we are just giving what we want because we want truth. And so if no one's going to give it to us, then we're just going to do it ourselves. But I mean, that what they said is exactly it. We're family. We've grown up together, and we've all kind of come into our own adulthood and walk with the Lord, kind of all meeting at the same point at some point. Why don't you say what you do for a living and what you do outside of these walls?
So I'm a paraprofessional at an elementary school, and that's pretty much what I do. I just go in and out of classrooms, helping the teachers, helping the kids. I get paid to play with kids and help them learn, so it's pretty awesome. And then I also help with the teens at church too.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what I do outside of here and hanging out with them and spending time with family, friends.
What are your special interests right now? What are you into right now?
Well, I'm always into Jesus and Disney. That's pretty much, that sums up me right there.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. What do you do for a living?
So I work in construction, and I work for a company, a local company, and I mean that's about it. I love making music. I'm part of the praise team at the church that I go to, and I mean that's basically it. Just work, Jesus. I love working out, doing gymnastics. Like, I'm so tall, you wouldn't think that I do that stuff. But ever since 12,
Yeah.
like I would
You've
be
always
out.
been a performer, but
Right.
the flipping started, yeah.
So Becca, what do you do for a living?
I teach at a university. I have my master's degree in English and with a specialization in American Lit, and I'm working on my PhD right now. So I teach at a university, and in my free time, I like to read. Is that too on the nose? I do a lot of studying. I'm a learner. Like, I love to learn. I'm always chasing new knowledge. So anytime I can learn something, I'm listening to a podcast about it, or I'm reading about it, or watching a documentary on it. And at church, Drake and I are, we just started a small group with some people from our church that we are close in age with, and we've kind of kickstarted a young adult class, which is what we needed. So that's kind of where we're at in our church right now. Um, Neither one of us can sing really well, and neither one of us are good with kids, so we don't serve in the way you guys serve. But we are working in that young adult class, and it's been really really good to see. Um,
I think though, like a lot of things that we can all agree on is we love music,
yeah,
and y'all just went to Forrest Frank and Josiah Queen.
I know I felt so dirty doing that to you.
Yeah. So how was that? Did y'all have a good time? Like what was it like?
Honestly, Forrest Frank, and we talked about this on the way home. Josiah was great. It was awesome, but it was such a small like he was like right there with you,
Right.
so it was hard to be like separate almost. At Forrest Frank, we were in that huge venue. There was 12,000 people that was sold out, and it was a fun concert. It was very
so much
fun. But there was a moment, and I know Maddie can agree, where he was spontaneously worshiping, and I just closed my eyes, and it was me and Jesus, and Forrest was just leading that. It wasn't like we were there watching him perform, even though we were. He was leading worship. Like I've never experienced that at a concert before.
That's cool.
It was very cool. Surreal almost to open your eyes and be like, oh wait,
Like
the lights are flashing and Forrest Frank.
Yeah, this dude that I hear on the radio talking about Jesus is here, and we're praising God together.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was really cool. I've been to like a couple different ones where I have experienced that, like than just leading worship. But I mean, I didn't know how it was gonna be because his music is so like just upbeat and like encouraging.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really expecting him to do the spontaneous. And whenever he started, I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It was really, really good. You could just feel like, I don't know, it's just different. There's a difference in concerts and concerts where you're worshiping.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference. And Josiah Queen was awesome too. Yeah. That was really awesome. But I guess maybe it was the separation. Because, I mean, Josiah got down in the middle of the crowd and was, like, jumping around with everybody. And so it's hard to be, like, it's hard to separate yourself. But it was really cool. I felt so bad when I sent you those videos because I was like, ooh, Jacob introduced me to both of these guys when I'm at their concerts.
Hey, it's all good. I was here eating some sort of like burnt pizza wrap that I tried to make. So I mean,
we were balling with Forrest.
Yeah.
It's funny though, when I was videoing the thing he was doing where he was showing how he layers music, you texted me while I was videoing that. So you texted me that verse that you looked up and you got some more information on and you sent it to me.
Right.
Yeah, the commentary you found.
What was that? I don't have my phone already.
It was really funny. Becca was like, I'm going to get this for Jacob. It was a recording. And then right after she got done, she said, that's weird. And showed me and your name was
It
right
was
there.
the passage about the drinking the water, if they cup it or if they sip it.
That's something cool. So before we get into a little deeper into the conversation, I was going to share that. Judges 7, verses 5 through 6, this is NLT. When Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told him, divide the men into two groups. One group that puts the water in their hands and lap it up with their tongues like dogs. And in the other group, put all those who kneel down and drink with their mouths in the stream. Only 300 of the men drank from their hands. All the others got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. So, while I was reading that, I was thinking, like, why would that differentiate between warriors and the rest of them? Like, what's that got to do with anything? Of course, I took it to ChatGPT, which that could be another conversation that we talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt as well. But it did give historical insight. It says the 300 that cupped the water in their hands and lapped it up like dogs stayed alert. They didn't kneel down or put their faces fully into the stream. This could imply that they were more situationally aware. From 32,000 men down to 300, God wanted to make it clear that Israel's victory was not won by their own might, but by his power. Symbolism of dependence. Those who lapped up water may represent those who didn't depend on the comforts of the moment. They stayed on the mission. It could symbolize a heart posture those who are ready, humble, and don't indulge in the flesh. But I just thought that was really neat.
Yeah. The story, like, whenever you were explaining it, I never thought about it like this before, but it reminded me of the 10 virgins with their lamps, and 5 of them were ready and 5 of them weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's just crazy because that's what it was. They were testing to see who was going to stay alert and who wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
They were ready for battle, essentially. And, like, in Matthew 25, when it talks about the 10 virgins, 5 of them were ready with their lamp and their oil, and then the other 5 were like just lollygagging around, like they weren't ready.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks into like us right now. You know, Jesus doesn't even know the day of his return, only God. And like we have to stay alert. We have to stay on our toes, and we have to always keep God in the forefront of our mind.
And the perfect segue from that is salvation, right? Because that's what the story of the 10 virgins is supposed to symbolize, is who is going to be ready when Jesus does come back.
Yep.
And how do we know? So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about first and foremost, was salvation. How do you know if you're saved? When I wanted to hear from you guys when you were saved. Before I ask you that, before you tell me how you knew you were saved, can you tell me what being saved even is? This is a word we throw around a lot, and I don't know that anyone has ever sat down and given me a definition of it. So what is that to you? What does it mean to be saved?
You gonna take this one?
So it's actually crazy because, like, I've never been asked that question either. And we do throw it around. We say, oh, are you saved? And it's like, that's probably why so many people have the question, how do I know if I'm saved?
Yeah.
Because it's never gone into depth or into, like, detail of, like, what does that even
What is
mean?
it? Yeah.
And a short answer, like, I don't know how to explain it to where it's almost like you know for sure. But being saved to me is realizing that I can't save myself.
Yeah.
It's almost like humbling to know that, like, no matter what I do, like, I can't ever do things good enough or perform in a certain way to ever, like, save myself. And to know being saved to me, and how I would explain it, is I'm not relying on myself. I'm relying on Jesus.
That's good. I kind of see it as like, if I were to give somebody, which I think I explained this a little bit on small group. I don't know if it was last time or the time before, but if I give somebody a gift, and the gift is theirs, they can do what they want with it, but it's the acceptance of that gift is seen as salvation. So, like, we all, Jesus says that none shall perish, but all look to him. So that gift is there for every single soul on earth. And it's like, all we got to do is accept the gift that is already given to us, and that's salvation. What's that movie, Hacksaw Ridge? Or
With
is it
Andrew Garfield?
Yeah. And it's like, are you saved? Is it that movie? He's like, are you saved? And he's like, I'm baptized. And it's like, are you saved though?
Yeah. Because it's not, that's something, James 2:19, you believe that there is one God, even the demons believe that and shudder. It's not a question of, do you believe, right? It is, are you saved?
Yeah.
There's a difference. If a person simply believes that there is a God and that's the extent of his faith, that's not a saving faith. A saving faith is a faith that, also in James 2, produces works, right? If we just go, let's just go to James 2, because we talked about this a little bit, funnily enough, last night at small group.
Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over.
Sorry. that was devotional.
I listened to it too. This is James 2, and let's just start in 14. It It says, "What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to him, 'Depart in peace, be warmed and filled,' but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." So if your faith, if your salvation is not producing anything in you, are you saved? And by producing anything of the fruits of the Spirit, a change in heart posture,
Right.
Repentance, the lamenting over sin, are you experiencing any sort of change and behavior change? Belief, or is it behavior mirrors belief, right? So the way you act mirrors what you believe in your heart. That is the clearest answer. Maddie, you mentioned something that I think is important, is understanding that you need to be saved from something. So Romans 3:23, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So understanding that is the first step to understanding salvation, is understanding you need to be saved.
I do want to touch on like the fruit for a second, since like we did bring that up. That if you are saved, there's gonna be fruit in our life, and Jesus says that in Matthew 7:16-20. It says, "You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is cut down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them." And so like the fruit of your faith, like the works of your faith, by our works, by what people can see what you are doing. Like if you look at someone and they say they're a Christian but they're not living it, someone can look at them and be like, well, they're not actually a believer in Jesus. Because, and like the crazy thing is like non-believers see that and can recognize it faster than someone who says they're a believer can. And but if you see someone who is actually like not just saying it but living it, they're seeing the fruit, and that's how they know them. There's also, I think it's in John, I don't know what chapter, but he says like, you will know them by the way that they love.
Right.
And I think that's really important, that you have to have, like, if you have faith, like works and fruit are gonna produce. And that's how people can tell, and that's how you can tell too in your life.
Yeah.
To talk a little bit more on that, your faith produces works, but you're not saved by those works. In Ephesians 2:8, "For it is by grace that you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God." So
Verse 9 says, "Not by works."
Right.
So just in case you're wondering,
And
not by works.
It's like there's nothing that we can do. There's no prayer that we could pray. There's nothing that we could do to be deserving of God, to be deserving of heaven. So it's like, that's why it's such a good gift, because like there's nothing that we could do. We're not saved by our works, but faith without works is dead. But those works are two different types of works. It's work as in, oh, I'm going to work my way up to heaven, versus works as in, this salvation that I have from God is so good, I want to share it with others.
It's almost like you're working from salvation,
not
for salvation.
Yeah. That's how I realized I wasn't saved. Was I was working for it, and we can talk more about that later. But you're exactly right. You're working for something versus from something. So if I could play devil's advocate just a little bit, you said there's nothing we could do that could make us deserving, right? What if I don't think my sin is that bad? I'm not that bad of a person. There are people out there way worse than me. I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes back to what you said about Romans 3:23. that for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And also, like Jesus says, no one is good. Like, there is not one that is good.
Yeah.
And so even if, and you can also do the little thing where it's like the ladder, like, have you lied? Have you cheated? Have you done all these things? And like, if you haven't done one, you've done the other. And in James, I think it's in this chapter 2, where it talks about if you've committed sin in one part of the law, you've committed it against all of it.
Mhm.
And so and he even compares like adulteress to a murderer.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you've committed that, you've also committed this. And it's like, but I didn't kill anybody. But you
Right.
still broke. Like,
You
you're
did.
still not doing, you're not good. Like,
Right.
we're not good.
And it's the same. Jesus says if you.
Yeah, Rufus is like, amen.
Jesus says if you're angry,
Yeah.
like you have committed like murder.
And that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because how many of us have been angry?
Yeah.
It's just the truth of the matter is whether sin. We say this all the time. Sin's consequences are going to be different in the world. The consequence of lying is different from the consequence of murdering someone.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that Jesus died for both.
And all sin separates us from God. And I was going to speak a little bit on that is, some could say sin is sin. And I don't think that they're necessarily wrong because, like I said, all sin separates us from God.
Mm-hmm.
But sin is not sin in the sense that they have different consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So murdering somebody has different consequences of looking at a woman with lustful eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them separate us from God.
Right.
So it's like which ties back to the works thing, we cannot do anything because we're naturally sinful. We're born into a sinful world.
Right. Let's pause there and pick up in part 2.
Okay.
I hope my camera didn't die.
We're up.
Yeah.